all. So today we're talking about the built environment, and this is not something that's in your text, but it is something that I'm really passionate about, and I feel like is important enough to include in our class time. So the built environment includes all the human-made physical spaces where we live, recreate, and work. These include our buildings, furnishings, open and public spaces, roads, utilities, and other infrastructure. These structures and spaces affect our health by bringing pollutants into our environments by allowing or restricting access to physical activity, transportation, and social interactions. The built environment includes all of the physical parts of where we live and work. So our homes, our buildings, streets, open spaces, and infrastructure. It also encompasses all indoor and outdoor environments and influences a person's level of physical activity. For example, inaccessible or non-existent with sidewalks and bicycle or walk pathways contribute to sedentary habits. These habits lead to poor health outcomes such as obesity, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and some types of cancer. Today, approximately 2/3 of Americans are overweight. A community design creates a public health impact. So community policies affect our community health. An example of this has been the coronavirus and how the community leaders are responding to the crisis. I'll show you another example of this in just a little bit. So the built environment touches on all aspects of our lives, encompassing the buildings we live in, the distribution systems that provide us with water and electricity, and the roads, bridges, and transportation systems we use to get from place to place. It can generally be described as the man-made or modified structures that provide people with living, working, and recreational spaces. Creating all these spaces and systems requires enormous quantities of materials. Much of our walking occurs outdoor, and so building walkability into our built environment in clean and safe spaces promotes daily walking. Other key points about built environments, transportation, and physical activity are the co-benefit of walkable neighborhoods. There's greater social cohesion. On streets with more traffic, neighbors are less likely to know each other. Walkable communities and communities where more people walk offer opportunities for personal bonds that bring people and communities together, creating more social cohesion. I feel like we've seen a little bit of that with our stay-at-home orders. People are out walking more and they're outside more because they don't have any other place to go. And so you're starting to see neighbors talking with one another. Children are more active outside when playgrounds are available to the public. Walking is the most common form of physical exercise. Safe places to walk near automobile traffic include medians and crosswalks. People who live near trails are more physically active on average. More physical activity promoted by a healthy built environment can reduce medical costs associated with obesity and obesity-related diseases. Fewer children walk or bike to school now than in 1969, dropping from 50% to 13%. Driving less reduces air pollution. We actually have seen that as well, in that we aren't driving anywhere, so pollution has been better in some cities. Not necessarily here, but in other cities more so. Cities are not equal in the quality of environment they offer, with up to a 10-fold difference in the number of fatalities of pedestrians and bicyclists between cities. Residents of walkable neighborhoods are more likely to meet the physical activity guidelines for Americans, which is basically that you're getting 60 minutes of activity, a moderate activity on a daily basis. Transit riders are also more likely than drivers to meet the activity recommendations. Other elements of the built environment are healthy food access and community gardens. We'll talk about those in a little bit as well. There is evidence that certain kinds of land use and transportation strategies that can reduce the environmental and human health impacts of development. Findings include development in and adjacent to already developed areas can help protect natural resources like wetlands, streams, coastlines, and critical habitat. Residents of transit-oriented developments are 2 to 5 times more likely to use transit for commuting and non-work trips than others living in the same region. In general, the greater the population density of an area, the less the area's residents tend to drive. doubling residential density across a metropolitan region could reduce household vehicle travel by 5 to 12%. That's according to the National Research Council of the National Academies of Driving in the Built Environment in 2009. Nearby places that we look for are neighborhood restaurants, coffee shops, grocery stores, schools, and parks. So putting those in building those in areas of neighborhoods where people can walk to the coffee shop to get a cup of coffee, or to the grocery store to buy groceries. They can bike to the grocery store, or walking to the park or school. Trying to create those and be strategic in our planning as such. Communities with streets designed for the safety of all users can encourage walking and biking and help people lead healthier lifestyles. A review of green building retrofits of commercial buildings around the world found energy savings of up to 50 to 70%. Water efficient household appliances and fixtures can yield significant water savings, and careful selection of construction materials can conserve natural resources and improve our indoor air quality. Site-scale green infrastructure can reduce development impacts on water quality. So, and also looking at our commute and our transit, how we are riding or driving to school or work. Are people using the bus? And that's something that they have done studies on that here in Corpus regarding the bus line in particular. Biking as well as foot traffic. So how many people walk to school or work? There is the current understanding of the relationship between the built environment and the quality of air, water, land, resources, habitat, and human health. The findings are biodiversity for nearly all plants and animal species. Diversity declines with the increases in the amount of impervious surface, road density, and time since development, human population density, and building density. And all of these have a tendency to affect our lifestyle as well, our neighborhood, but also crime and safety. Our water, the development in our watersheds reduces the quantity, quality, and diversity of stream habitat for aquatic life. As water is polluted and degraded, it can become unfit for drinking, swimming, fishing, and other uses. Our air, more than 38% of national carbon monoxide emissions and 38% of nitrogen oxide emissions come from highway vehicles. Stationary sources like power plants that provide energy to homes, offices, and industries are also major sources of pollution. Climate change, such as greenhouse gas emissions from the transportation sector, increased 19% between 1990 and 2010, due primarily to increase in vehicle travel, but partially offset by a slight increase in average fuel economy as older vehicles were removed from the roads. And health. While data are liking to determine whether the built environment determines levels of physical activity and or obesity, nearly 90% of studies found a positive association, suggesting that the built environment is one of the many factors that could play a role in how much people exercise and levels of obesity and safety. Car crashes are the third leading cause of death in terms of years of life lost, given the young age of so many car crash victims and the number of years they would have been expected to live if they had not died in a car crash. Only cancer and heart disease are responsible for more years of life lost. So Corpus Christi has a walk score of 41. That's on a scale of 0 to 100. And it's based upon walking routes to destinations such as grocery stores, schools, parks, restaurants, and retail, suggesting that we are very car dependent. And so most errands require a car. Going to school at Texas A&M Corpus Christi requires a car for the most part. The most walkable Corpus Christi neighborhoods are the Central City, the Bay Area, and South Side. And on that walk to an average of 2 restaurants, bars, and coffee shops is about 5 minutes. The transit score, we rate a 30 on a scale of 0 to 100. This calculates distance to closest stop on each route, analyzes route frequency and type, and Corpus Christi has some public transportation, about 26 bus lines, if you will, or stops. And on a scale of 0 to 1, we rank at about a 41 on the bike. Infrastructure, topography, such as hills, destinations, and road connectivity. It's somewhat bikeable, but there is minimal bike infrastructure, suggesting that really we need to be more strategic in the placement of our biking system, our infrastructure, and creation of new. We're doing all of this road work. I hope that they're being strategic and putting in infrastructure for biking as well as walking as well. So our healthy community design, the way we design and build our communities, affects our physical and mental health. Healthy community design can increase physical activity levels. When people can walk, bike, or roll where they need to go because of supportive infrastructure like connected, well-maintained sidewalks and bike-friendly routes, car traffic decreases, and that can improve air quality and respiratory health. When children live in homes that do not contain lead or asthma triggers, they are better able to grow and develop in a healthy environment. We believe everyone deserves healthy communities. Those are communities where everyone has an affordable, safe home, access to safe and healthy food, and decision makers include health and equity considerations when making transportation and land use decisions. We must think strategically. Strategic cities, smart cities, smart homes, etc. It requires planning and forethought for an economical, environmental, and socially sustainable community. How we develop land determines the distribution of jobs, housing, and community activities, which in turn determines how far people travel to meet their daily needs and their transportation options. These travel decisions affect air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions and levels of physical activity. Land development patterns can disproportionately affect children, the elderly, and people with disabilities, groups that can be especially vulnerable to the health effects of population. In addition, these groups, as well as racial and ethnic minorities and people of lower socioeconomic status, often have fewer options for where to live and work. Human health effects of our built environment include impacts on activity levels, obesity, chronic disease, level of community engagement, and risk of injury or death from vehicle crashes. The importance of where we build, how safeguarding sensitive areas and focusing development on already developed land and around transit stations limits environmental impacts. Here you see, this is in Fort Worth, Texas, where there was a sidewalk, but they've created an environment where people can ride as well as walk, and you've got people being active rather than standing around this small sidewalk, if you will. So biking has remained the commuting choice for a relatively constant but very small proportion of all workers. Census data before 1980 did not distinguish between driving alone and carpooling or including information on motorcycle or bicycle use. However, in 1960, 12% of people usually took public transportation to work, 2.5 times the percentage in 2010. And 10% of people usually walked to work, 3.5 times the percentage in 2010. The size of virtually every metropolitan area in the United States has expanded dramatically in recent decades. In many places, the rate of land development has far outpaced the rate of population growth, although more recent trends in some areas suggest the pattern could be changing. As the amount of developed has increased and more and larger homes are being built, buildings, roads, and associated impervious surfaces have grown to serve an increasingly dispersed population. As our communities change to accommodate cars, the percentage of people taking public transit, walking, and biking decline. Projected population growth and demographic trends suggest the need for additional development will continue to grow, providing an opportunity to improve the environmental performance of our communities. We know that changing the built environment can be a cost-effective way to increase physical activity. Less is known about how to improve healthy diets and mental wellness through neighborhood design, as these are newer fields of study. Improving the opportunity to cycle, walk, or take public transit to work or school by changing the built environment is a growing area of research. Changing the built environment could significantly influence people's daily physical activity. Community design features such as connected streets, a mix of residential, commercial, educational, and employment areas, bike paths, and good public transit can support being active to get to work or other places, whereas green spaces, waterways, walking pathways, trails, and recreational facilities can promote recreational physical activity. Neighborhoods with easy access to healthier food options appear to be linked to better diets and better health. Those with a higher ratio of unhealthy to healthy food options can appear to be linked to poor diets and worse health. However, there are significant gaps in our knowledge, and other factors such as affordability may have a bigger influence on diet than the built environment. Neighborhoods may not be set up to address social isolation and loneliness. So communities with houses that have front yards or that are close to the street, have destinations to walk to, and have places for people to gather could encourage social interaction. Studies suggest that green spaces are linked to a variety of health benefits, including lower risk for premature death, ties to the land, water, family, community, and identity, as well as a holistic, interconnected view of health and well-being are important components of indigenous culture that can provide insight into healthy neighborhood design. Going forward, decision makers and planners at all levels should have a multi-sectoral, collaborative approach and consider health as an important outcome as appropriate when making infrastructure planning design. More targeted, hypothesis-driven research, standardized data collection, and systematic evaluations of the health impact of community design features are needed. With the diversity of communities and cities across America, considering context and engaging citizens are important for ensuring that a community's unique needs are met when designing for healthy living. They actually just did this in the London area and in Flower Bluff, where they sent out a questionnaire and are trying to gather data from citizens. And they were supposed to have meetings with this, but with COVID-19, those were canceled. This is the human ecology model created by Barton and Grant in 2006. The environment can directly and indirectly impact our overall health and well-being. Environmental health examines the interaction between the environment and our health. And I know there's a lot of stuff on here, but I feel like it ties into what we're talking about with the built environment. Our environmental health refers to aspects of human health, such as our quality of life, and are determined by physical, chemical, biological, social, and psychosocial factors in the environment. That environment broadly includes everything external to ourselves, including the physical, natural, social, and behavioral environments. Our health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being and is not merely the absence of disease or illness. So why is this environment important for health? We need safe, healthy, and supportive environments for good health. The environment which we live in is a major determinant of our health and well-being. We depend on the environment for energy and the materials needed to sustain life, such as clean air, safe drinking water, and nutritious food, as well as safe places to live. Many aspects of our environment, both the built and natural environment, can impact our health. It's important that we interpret health issues in the wider context of our environment and where we live. So what can we do? Healthy community design includes the following: making the case for physical activity by looking at obesity rates, injury, and climate change. To address the issue, do a health impact assessment through surveillance and epidemiology, evaluation, communications, and training. Look at the primary infrastructure sectors that impact health. Build collaborations across multiple disciplines such as transportation, urban planning, architecture, housing, and food systems or food insecurity. Green spaces and public health law. These interactions help CDC develop guidelines, support pilot projects, and educate current and future planners and public health professionals about designing healthier communities. Create a model curriculum by visiting, making plans, and implementing those plans. But don't stop there. Continue to improve through engaging the public and shareholders. Work toward health equity and advocacy for public health, and apply this through the local health community districts and create safe routes to school and work. Our indoor quality, environmental quality, is important as well. So the indoor environments concentrate some pollutants, such as that indoor levels can be many times higher than outdoor levels. Our poor indoor quality may increase rates of asthma, allergies, and infectious and respiratory disease. we spend 90% of our time indoors on average, and especially in developed countries. And because indoor spaces in developing countries are often greatly impacted by burning solid fuels, and it can significantly influence our health worldwide. The features of our indoor environment that can affect our health and well-being include noise, temperature, humidity, mold, light, air quality, lead paint, electromagnetic and radio frequency radiation, and water quality. So designing buildings that help to reduce external noise pollution. There are ways that we can do that. Looking at artificial light and how it has changed many aspects of human life that allow us to be productive outside of daylight hours, to reduce the risk of damage and injury from uncontrolled fire. And stairwells. This is another way to fight the trend to help improve our health in the workplace or at school. For example, by encourage people to take the stairs instead of the elevator. If you want people to take the stairs, then you have to do things to encourage them to do that. So you can make your stairwells more inviting with cheerful paint on the walls and railings. If it's allowed by local fire and building codes, carpet can sometimes increase comfort and decrease noise. You can also put rubber stair treads. If you carpet the stairs, rubber stair treads will help ensure safety. You can see here the difference between the one on the left and the right. The left is really inviting and makes you want to take those stairs, doesn't it? Versus the one on the right that's dimly lit and looks really scary. Creating, again, an environment that is encouraging you to take the stairs so that you can look over and see the green wall space, the living wall, if you will, there in front, and see people off to the side. Creating framed artwork so that, again, it's encouraging people to take the stairs to look. And motivational signs near elevators, saying something to the degree of no waiting one door over. And in other words, point of decision signs of the work site can remind workers to use their stairwell. Music, having a system in the stairwell so that people are encouraged to take the stairs. And maybe having a tracking system of some kind that allows you to see that people are taking the stairs. We also have to have budgets that are there to help encourage people taking the stairs as well. So creating a built environment for people to be physically active. This next is an example of an indoor and outdoor green space. So again, just encouraging people to go outside, get some sunshine, get some fresh air, and possibly enjoy the little community garden that it looks like they have there. So Corpus Christi's actually done this in creating Water's Edge Park. I don't know how many of you have been there, but it has created some opportunities for physical activity. And with this, cities that have green spaces, sidewalks, trails, and bike lanes promote physical exercise and mental health. So what they did was the road here on the beach actually went all the way. You started from Texas A&M Corpus Christi, and you were able to go all the way down to the American Bank Center at one time. Now they have shut this road off so that it allows people to walk over to the beach and beachgoers to walk over to the park without fear of road traffic. It encourages people to ride their bike down to Water's Edge Park and play. Of course, you've got the court there, the covered court, which is important, again, so that it encourages people to go out and play on the court and you're not frying out there. Other parts of the built environment include the food environment. So communities can use many strategies to make it easier for people to buy fresh, nutritious food close to home, school, and work. They can change zoning and give incentives to lure supermarkets and farmers markets to food deserts. or encourage corner stores to stock fruits and vegetables. They can even create healthy food zones near schools to ban the fast food restaurants, so often tempt students to skip school meals. So creating access to grocery stores, convenience stores, and farmer markets are something to look at with the built environment. And really examining our policies and procedures at the global level, considering the infrastructure of our indoor and outdoors, encouraging people to be active, make it attractive for people to want to be active. Create green space in and around your building or your home, and encourage people to walk and bike. With all of that, again, you have better air quality and the reduction in global warming, and it also helps to improve our mental and physical well-being, as well as our health and social care as well. And walking is something that we all can do and is free for the most part, or creating paths for those who that need that. And we'll talk more about the universal design in our next visit. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to talking with you more about universal design next. Take care. Hope you have a great day.